Welcome to Name 3 Songs. I'm Sarah Fagan.
I'm Jenna Millian, and this is a podcast where we discuss feminist issues in music and pop culture, all while empowering fangirls.
Because let's be honest, fangirls knew about that band way before you did.
Ooh, it's been a minute, you guys. It has been a minute. Let me say that.
I just am honestly offended that so much pop culture stuff happened while we were away, and now that we're back, this week was like pretty dull.
Yes, but Coachella is happening this weekend and next, so I feel like we'll get some spicy, fun drama out of that.
That is true. Like this weekend is like influencer networking event, and next weekend is like music drama. I feel like. I mean, to be fair, last night during Muna's set, they brought out Phoebe Bridgers, yeah. And then the rest of Boy Genius came out, and I was like, this is just drunk girl karaoke at this point, but it was pretty epic.
Nice. So we did some light globe trotting. If you guys were following along on Insta, you know that we were in Germany, we were in the Netherlands, and we got to see some of our podcast friends in Germany. It was literally so wholesome. And we need more of you guys to come be friends with us on the internet so we can come visit you also.
It's like we're trying to do a world tour, and the closest we can do right now is just like see friends in their cities. So yeah, it's like hit us up.
But it's just funny because it's like obviously you guys know Sarah and I don't live in the same place, but then we just like talk about this stuff all the time. But then like being with other people who also like care and want to talk about this was like very amusing.
I was just like, wow, how do I get a group? Like, how do I get this group together, like in New York City, to just talk about the podcast nonsense constantly? Because it's all I think about anyway.
Also, we did get Sarah to kind of actually enjoy K-pop a little bit. Big steps.
Anytime you send me the music, I'm always like, this is good. But I feel like watching my friends get enjoyment out of watching K-pop content was like really fun for me.
Wholesome.
It was like so wholesome watching how much you guys were getting out of it, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. I love this.
Yeah, it was so fun. Yeah, so while we were away, Jimin put out his EP or like mini album, so we were watching lots of like Jimin related content and late night shows and variety shows and whatnot. Suga is doing a tour. He's doing a tour documentary. He's doing a album release. J-Hope is going to the military as of April 18th. So he did his last live stream. There's been so much happening in BTS world. And also my favorite boys, TXT, Tian and Yeonjun went on Suga's drinking show because he just like has guests on and they drink and they talk. Yeonjun got like low-key really drunk and like was like going to sleep at the end of it. And he was like joking online with like fans and stuff that he like doesn't remember any of it. And like his staff had to like take him home, and he just like woke up and he was in bed.
He looked so drunk. Like that man was steaming.
It's just so funny because like the editing of like K-pop related content is so funny. Like the editors will make jokes like about the members and stuff, and so they were just like editing like his battery was draining and like all this stuff, and like it was so funny. But it was also very wholesome to hear like the relationship between TXT and BTS, because they were like the first group that came out after BTS on the same label. So they have like a very special like brotherly type relationship.
Yeah, I mean, everything you were sending me, I was like, this is so wholesome. I can't handle this. Like, I don't know. It's just like nice to see like mutual respect amongst people in the same scene, because I feel like, again, in like more Western music, I feel like we don't get that as often, and whenever we do, it feels a little bit forced.
Yeah, it's mostly just like at award shows we get interactions, you know.
I feel like lately there's been more like celebrity fangirl behavior that feels believable, but like
also wait, on that note, while we were on the trip, Sarah was like, you know what? We would be best friends with Charlie XCX. Like, we literally have the same humor. And it was so funny because I feel like the main thing she was doing was she was promoting her partnership with Samsung. And she was just, like, making all these jokes. She was just like, being a legend with my Samsung. Like, it was, like, she's very much, like, taking the piss out of the fact that she's, like, promoting this partnership. And I was like, you know what? You're not wrong.
I love her so much just like as a human, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that we would all fall in love with each other. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of just like nonsense going on online in regards to like fangirl stuff, because as we all know, thankfully James Corden's show like stint of thankfully James Corden's stint of hosting the Late Late Show is coming to an end.
Oh my god.
And so his last show is coming up and everybody's like, oh my god, One Direction are gonna get back together for it. I've never wanted anything less in my life, but I just like love how the rumor was so bad that like they had to make a statement to be like, yeah, that's not happening. But also,
did they
like,
really?
Yeah, like not One Direction, like
god.
the Late Late Show
James
did.
Corden, oh my god.
And I just like can't believe any One Direction fan would like want to see them get back together specifically for a check, because that's what it would be. Like it would literally be like one song, like maybe a 3-minute interview, and like we all know, because James Corden is James Corden, that like the
he
one
would
song
just make it about himself.
would be like done on like that fucking crosswalk in LA that ruins everyone's lives. It would be Night Changes. He would put on a Zayn costume. Like we all know that he would turn it into a fucking joke, and then we would all mass kill ourselves. Like it would be like Jonestown, but One Direction fans.
On a lighter note, speaking of One Direction, we did see the Louis Tomlinson documentary while we were in Amsterdam, and we had to do like a thought recap because obviously, so we did actually record something while we were on one of our trains and put it up on Patreon. If you guys missed it, you can get a fun little bonus episode from us on Patreon where we're sharing all of our thoughts about the Louis Tomlinson documentary.
And also with our Patreon, now you can pay anything from $1 to $10 to just get access to all of like our past music meltdowns and Did You Hear episodes and this Louis Tomlinson episode. And it was just really funny because I also was like on assignment for Alt Press when we went to this movie, so I'm just like sitting in the movie with my notes app up taking notes the whole film.
It was so funny because just to give you a taste of what we already said in our bonus episode was basically that like the theater was like much more tame than we like wanted it to be, and like it was 2 showings and we went to the later showing and we felt like if we would have gone to the earlier showing, like all the chaotic people would have been there. But like Sarah and I were like literally like laughing out loud and like pointing at the screen, and I was like recording on my phone. I was like, is this illegal? Like maybe, but like I always did it when like BTS had like their concerts in cinema, and like there was like a mom next to me, like probably a girl who's like in college age or like our age, and she came with her mom, which I thought was so wholesome. But the mom was sitting next to me and she kept looking at me, and I didn't know if she was like mad that we were like having such a good time or not, or if she was just like, what are these people doing? They're obviously American.
I just like, it was so funny watching like the Instagram stories that Charlie Lightning was like reposting from fans in other countries that like are more known to be chaotic, because they were just like screaming in the theater and stuff, and I'm like,
I wanted that.
Like I wanted but also I feel like I would have complained to Jenna for like 20 minutes afterwards.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah.
Like I would have been like, that was amazing, but also they wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Balance.
I know. We need, like, I feel like there could have been a happy medium of like excitement, but it was funny because like sometimes when Jenna and I would react, it felt like we were giving the whole rest of the cinema permission to react, because they would like delayed response after us, which was really funny. And I was like, this is cute. They don't want to be rude.
It was a good time.
I mean, in other exciting stuff, because like I feel like we missed so much, and there's so much that Jenna and I have been texting being like, oh my god, we want to talk about this with y'all.
I feel like we just need to like rattle off some of these things that we've been thinking about, just a like discussion before we get into the heavy stuff.
I know, because like we had all the Barbie movie posters released, including Dua Lipa being a Barbie, which like feels right. I wish that it said this Barbie does soft choreo, but it didn't. I feel like Dua's like really leaned into the meme of her dancing, and like I feel like that would have been everything. Yeah.
She is a mermaid Barbie, if you guys don't know.
It's everything. Matty Healy also deleted his Instagram and said at an Australian show that the 1975 exists in eras, and so does he. And like his Instagram Trim and Black era, I think he said his asshole era is over, but like I might just be paraphrasing because that's what I want Matty Healy to say. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen some really funny Matty Healy TikToks recently, and I forget that they're like still on tour, but that makes sense.
I know, I keep forgetting too, and then I see some video and he's like in a black rib tank top doing something sexy, and I'm like, sir.
Yeah. Wait, no, the one you sent me where he was like about to fight someone in the crowd.
I know. It was like some dude in the crowd was like apparently being like a bit handsy or like pushing on girls, and Maddie's just like, get the fuck up. Like,
he literally did like the punching. He's like, you want to fight? Like,
I was like, why is that the hottest thing I've ever seen a man do in my life? Like every time I'm attracted to Maddie Healy, like I feel like I die a little bit. Like God takes a year away from my life.
It's so funny because there's like certain dudes that like you see them on like dating apps and you're like, you look like the literal worst and also boring and I would never go out with you. And then you see them in action, like you see someone like Maddie Healy in action and you're like, yeah, you would be so boring on a dating app, but like in real life you're hot.
I feel like that's most men. Like you see them on dating apps and you're like, eh. And like I was talking to one of my friends the other day about that, actually, just about like the fact that like they'll be like the most mid-looking men on like TikTok and they'll like say something smart and I'm like, I have a crush on you.
Okay, but like our Michelin star dinner, guys, I feel like you need to hit us up in the DMs if you want the full story because it will take way maybe we'll drop it on Patreon, but it was wild. Our Michelin star dinner in Berlin was wild.
Yeah.
Let's just say that there's like a whole world of chefs that are also boy bands. That's the teaser.
Basically. Yeah, I feel like we just need to do a trip breakdown on Patreon just to unleash the chaos. Just for the lols.
Also, I want to give a shout out to, we have some new remixes in the works happening. Doja Cat is jumping on SZA. Nicki Minaj is jumping on an Ice Spice track. So like very much like the legends are coming and like whatever. History is being made in front of our eyes. I love when this type of stuff happens. Also, Ice Spice did a whole like editorial photo shoot for Heaven by Marc Jacobs. And I just wanted to call this out because this is like the epitome of like 2023 like Gen Z culture of like we're gonna look back on this and be like, remember when Ice Spice did the Heaven by Marc Jacobs photo shoot? Like this is like very much everything this year comes to represent. So
we also need to talk about Maggie Rogers maybe helping to take down Ticketmaster, which also is crazy. And like I feel like everybody should be doing this, which is just selling tickets first thing at concert venues, but also like maybe making some option for like handicap fans to be able to get tickets like that too.
Yeah, it is a very interesting concept, but it's also like it's really only available for people who have a certain degree of flexibility to be able to do that. And part of that being if you don't live in New York City, if you live in the suburbs, if you live a state away and you were going to travel for a show, you can't really do that unless you also have the time and resources to take off of your regular livelihood to go get tickets.
Yeah, I feel like going and lining up at that process to like buy tickets, like if we're trying to like take Ticketmaster down a peg, like I feel like it needs to be like a 3-day event where it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because like you used to only be able to buy tickets in person. And I mean, like, even honestly, like sometimes when I was a teenager, I used to go into the city to buy tickets in person just to not have to deal with Ticketmaster fees. But like shows didn't sell out like they used to.
I've literally never bought a ticket in person.
I did it a couple times for like
we
shows.
Also lived in New York City, so a very different vibe.
Yeah, like if I knew a show wasn't gonna sell out, I would like plan a day in the city to like go to a box office to buy a ticket, because like most of the times the shows, like there wasn't as big of a concern about tickets selling out because like the scalping market wasn't as fucked as it is now.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like another option would be like having certain record stores within like in certain like radius also be able to sell like a limited amount just to like help out fans who like don't live there. It's obviously like would be a very complicated process, but it is very cool to see an artist as big as Maggie Rogers like going and like doing this for the first time, and like hopefully will set like a precedent for some other people. Yeah,
exactly. I think that makes sense also because I think also back in the day you could also buy tickets at record stores, so I feel like doing like a 50-70 mile radius of like a venue and like sending out a like allocated tickets to like certain record stores, like that would also be helpful. So many options to fuck over Ticketmaster.
We do also this week have a Drake Bell like going missing but like wasn't missing. Like we just like it was just really funny because Sarah sent me like this like DM that was like Drake Bell is missing, and then it was like 2 hours later like Drake Bell has been found. But it's like funny because like So Drake Bell tweeted, "You leave your phone in your car and don't answer for the night and this." So it's like literally he wasn't missing. Like he just wasn't answering his phone and somebody like I guess reported it to the police. But the thing is like if you're an adult, it's really hard to like actually report someone missing because they're an adult. So it's like usually it's like a 48 hours or like there's a certain waiting period of like you haven't heard from X person in a certain amount of hours before there can be like an actual police report. So like how like pop culture Twitter even got a hold of this, I do not know.
I mean, there was like a police statement or something because they were like he is considered missing and endangered.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, was it actually, because he tweeted it was like a night, but I'm like, was it actually a night or like was it actually longer?
I think
or is it because he's a celebrity so he gets priority of like we need to know where you are at all times?
I think it could be the celebrity thing, but I also don't think he's like that famous anymore. Yeah. But I think also like based off of all the conversation that has been happening around this man for the past like 5 years, I feel like he's just a flight risk maybe. So like I don't know, like I feel like the police in LA probably have like a list of people that like we should be concerned about if somebody calls and is like I haven't heard from them. Maybe he's like quote unquote gone missing like multiple times.
Yeah, I feel like Drake Bell has too much history. We can't unpack here today. There's a lot of nuances. I don't know, but it was a very funny moment on Twitter. And now we have got to our couples drama list. It's mostly just like paparazzi like sightings as well as like Deuxmoi. But I think the one that shook the internet the most this week was Timothée Chalamet and Kylie Jenner.
This has been the funniest thing ever because like Timothée Chalamet has major Harry Styles syndrome, which is that like we've all created an idea of who we think Timothée Chalamet is.
And we think he's like so sophisticated.
Yeah. Like,
and then like you hear him talk in an interview once and you're like, who are you? Like I know that's what happened to me. I was like, what? I was like, this dude is a bro.
I mean, this is the same dude who gave multiple girlies at NYU chlamydia.
Yes.
So, like, I don't really know, like, what we were expecting from this man, but it's, like, he's, like, a rich dude from New York City. Like,
yeah.
he just, like, comes from money, is a good actor, has, like, a very good stylist. But, like, that man, similarly to Harry Styles, has, like, rocks for brains, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he can speak French. He's sophisticated. It's like, I think that he and Kylie Jenner probably have a way more in common than we think that they do.
Yeah. That was basically the common consensus on TikTok also. But I think a lot of people on TikTok were like, if you think his choice of women is crazy, it probably tells you more about him than you think or something like that. The other really funny one is that Kendall Jenner and Bad Bunny have been spotted on multiple occasions, and the most recent one was them riding a horse together, where Kendall Jenner is the one like doing the horse riding and Bad Bunny's on the back. So funny. And then she's like taking a photo of them together. It just looks like the most random.
One of the pop shots though, just like he looks like he's like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
like it's just so funny because it's like their relationships makes absolutely no sense to me, especially because the fake narrative I've created in my head about Bad Bunny, because I know nothing about this man, is that he's like, I could speak English if I want to, but I won't. And then Kendall Jenner is like, let me appropriate Mexican culture constantly. And I know he's from Puerto Rico, but I'm just saying, like, Kendall Jenner has been cosplaying as a woman who can speak Spanish for like the last 5 years because of her tequila brand. And he's like, I actually speak no English.
A match made in heaven.
It's just so funny to me because I feel like, unlike Kylie and Timmy, I feel like Kendall is like the antithesis of Bad Bunny. It's like, what is happening?
I mean, that's what we're saying. If it seems like his choice in women is wild, it actually probably tells us more about him than we think. We did have paparazzi spottings of Selena Gomez and Zayn hanging out together.
I've never wanted anything more in my whole life.
It's just wild how close all of these circles are of like celebrity dating, because it's like Zayn was previously with Gigi Hadid.
And Bella Hadid, who is her sister, was in a long-term relationship with The Weeknd, and Selena Gomez also dated The Weeknd as some. It's like,
And they're like relatively friends with the Biebers, so
Hollywood is so incestuous. Like, it's disgusting.
But it's also just like someone like Bad Bunny. Like, he was dating someone like for a long time before this who like wasn't famous. But then it's like, oh, now you're famous. Now you get to date the inner circle. But also, I do think it's really funny that like people were making jokes whenever Harry and Kendall were dating about like them secretly being bisexual, and Bad Bunny is like known to probably be queer. So I do think that's amusing.
Oh, also in relationships up, how is this not, this isn't even on our list. Harry Styles and Emily Ratajkowski and the kiss that broke the internet.
Yes, except that we don't know if they're still together, if it's just a kiss, because he was like spotted with someone else too.
It doesn't even matter. I mean, like, it's just so funny because we also got like that video of Harry and some mystery girl in Tokyo that feels like some coming of age movie, like moment. And then we also have like more proof that Harry Styles is maybe the worst kisser in all of Hollywood.
Yeah. You're like, the kiss that broke the internet? True. How did we forget?
The kiss that broke me personally. Like,
the story is that according to a blind item, Emily had a threesome with Harry and Olivia when they were in Paris, and there is photo evidence of Emily being at Harry's show with Olivia in Paris. So
I mean, Emily got out of like a kind of abusive marriage, and I think she's just in her slut era, and I'm here for it. Like, I know, but girl.
I mean, like after the Eric Andre Valentine's reveal, I was like, how could you move on so soon?
I know, but I mean, like,
I wanted that to play out longer.
Honestly, I feel like anybody given the opportunity to just be like, yeah, I made out with Harry Styles in a parking lot would take it.
Yeah, fair. And my personal favorite celebrity couple of the moment is Rosalia and Rauw Alejandro, who is also a very famous like Latin pop star from Puerto Rico also. They recently announced their engagement. To be honest, I like literally was not paying attention, so I didn't really know they were dating. But now that they announced their engagement, I'm very much paying attention because they also released an EP with 3 songs, and they're on the cover of Billboard this month, and they did an interview together, and they were talking about how the 3 songs are like representative of like when they first met, like their current relationship and the future, and like the promises to each other. And then they put out like this like disgustingly cute like music video where they're just like kissing each other, and the song is called Beso. So like whatever, it's super like gross and disgusting, and I'm so here for it because they're very, very hot. And also low-key Rauw Alejandro gives off like MGK vibes. But oh my God. I'm like, I don't care about anyone else. This is the only star couple that matters.
Incredible. I mean, and also to make us all feel like we've accomplished nothing in our lives, Millie Bobby Brown has gotten engaged to Bon Jovi's son at the ripe age of 19. And
yeah, this is wild.
Bon Jovi's son is 20, so like their relationship is all above board. Yeah. They have been dating for 3 years. Wild. I just think that like most people think that they're gonna marry their high school boyfriend and like give it some time, and so it's like, you know, choices are being made.
I wonder if Drake's gonna write a song about this.
Oh my God, stop. But I just feel like she's been forced to grow up so fast that like there's a lot of people online who have been like, oh my God, she's so young, like this is so crazy. But just like based off of everything she's been put through by like Hollywood and the media and the people and like the whole like countdown till she turns 18 kind of things, like I can understand her feeling like she's ready for that life, and like she looks happy, so I'm happy for her. Yeah. But I'm also just like, wow, what have I amounted to?
Nothing like someone getting married at 19 to make you feel old.
I know, right?
Last thing we have on relationships, which like isn't like Zendaya and Tom Holland obviously I've been dating for a while, but I did see this quote pop up in my Twitter feed and I thought it was so funny. So Zendaya talked to The Sun apparently about like her relationship with Tom and how she struggles to like understand British slang, and she says, I love the British accent, but as much as Tom tries to explain it to me, I will never understand rhyming slang. Like, I understand the concept, but what do apples and pears have to do with stairs? It's cute when he tells me all the different phrases, but I don't really get it.
Oh.
I just like wholesome. I love them.
They're so cute. I can't deal with it. But to a bigger discussion topics, it was really fucking rude of Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez to like sort out their problems while
we were on break.
While we were on vacation. vacation, and like the height of our vacation too. Like that was like when we were with our friends, so we couldn't even try and like do an emergency episode because we were like, we have to, and then we're like, LOL, friendship.
Yeah.
we can't. But this was crazy.
It was crazy. Obviously, you guys know we were talking about the Selena Hailey drama a lot. We were very much of the mindset of like, Hailey Bieber, maybe not generally the best person, but the hate is not warranted. And also, personally, I feel like a lot of the stuff that fans were like, she did this as like a sly dig or whatever, which I feel like sly dig just aged me a few years. I feel like it wasn't. I feel like people were just making stuff up. Like people, I just feel like people were looking for any excuse to make stuff up. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't good. So on March 24th, Selena Gomez takes to Instagram stories to share, just like she puts text on like a black screen. She says, Hailey Bieber reached out to me and let me know that she has been receiving death threats and such hateful negativity. This isn't what I stand for. No one should have to experience hate or bullying. I've always advocated for kindness and really want this all to stop. Which like Selena Gomez has also spoken out multiple times in the past of like, don't online bully, and she's also been someone who's received like a lot of online bullying, so like that's always been Selena's like MO. Selena also then followed Hailey on Instagram to show her support, and like a few hours later Hailey shared her own statement, and she said, I want to thank Selena for speaking out, as her and I have been discussing the last few weeks how to move past this ongoing narrative between us. The last few weeks have been very hard for everyone involved, and millions of people are seeing such hate around this, which is extremely harmful. While social media is an incredible way to connect and build community, moments like this only create extreme division instead of bringing people together. Things can always be taken out of context or constructed differently than what they were intended. We all need to be more thoughtful about what we post and what we say, including myself. In the end, I believe love will always be bigger than hate and negativity, and there is always an opportunity to meet each other with more empathy and compassion. And Hailey followed Selena back on Instagram. So, very long post from Hailey. Do have to say it does feel a little bit like I'm the victim. It does feel a little bit like Selena having to apologize for things she shouldn't have to apologize, but also like this is another example of fandom going too far, in which like honestly felt like they maybe should have done this apology sooner because of how much it spiraled out of control, and the fact that we did like 3 whole episodes about this.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, that's the thing where it's like, I can't believe that it feels like Selena had to apologize for something where like at the end of the day, like no matter what people say, like I don't know, if it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it probably is a duck, but it's like there was probably some bullying happening, you know, but I think that the level of hate that people were extending towards Hailey was like very much unhinged behavior and unnecessary. But like the fact that like Hailey kind of made it seem like, yeah, I'm the one that's actually been treated the worst here is so unhinged of her, but also feels very on brand. Like very much made it about herself, which like, okay, whatever, makes you feel good, I guess I'm just glad they both made statements. Like I said, I think they should have done it sooner because of how much it just spiraled out of control, but I'm glad that they did say something, because I think there's a lot of celebrities who try to sit things out when the fandom is like going AWOL, and it's like, no, actually you should sometimes check your fandom. 100%. Again, like Jenna said, like I feel like it should have 100% been handled straight away. Like it should have been like them seeing what happened, them getting in touch, and them being like, let's just sort this out like adults do, like in public. Because again, like I think we said this like in our past episodes discussing this, like Selena's whole thing is being like very anti-bullying, and so like there's no way that she didn't know that people were bullying Hailey, and I just feel like something should have been done earlier. Yeah, but it is amusing because when I was Google searching to find the receipts for this, there was news that popped up from literally yesterday of this same shit. We have a headline in Daily Mail saying, "This girl is obsessed. Selena Gomez fans mercilessly roast Hailey Bieber over the launch of her new cooking show, accusing her of copying the singer with her ripoff series." Like this was yesterday. Friday, April 14th. Like, okay, but Paris Hilton did a cooking show on Netflix before Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez doesn't own the copyright to cooking shows. Like I know, but I just think like celebrities who aren't chefs doing cooking shows, like it's not even like Selena's the first one to do it of recent.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, come on, calm down.
Here's an example of, once again, people making something out of literally nothing.
Yeah. And it's just upsetting because it's like, it doesn't need to be like this.
So that is our brief recap of the drama that seems to never end in the world of catfights. However, I'm sure you guys have all been waiting on the edge of your seat when you saw the title of this episode, because we are talking about Taylor Swift's breakup with Joe Alwyn. And I feel like this is going to be one of those moments that everyone is always like, where were you when you found out like Zayn Malik left One Direction? This is going to be that for Swifties. Like, where were you when you found out like Taylor and Joe broke up?
Oh my God. I personally was on a subway going to the birthday party of a very big Taylor Swift fan, and I was like, this is going to be a long night for me. I was like, I am not emotionally prepared to deal with this right now. Meaning my friend's emotions, not my own. Because like, and I think I texted this to you, Jenna, where like my initial thought was, oh my God, everybody's gonna be like, her latest single was called Lavender Haze, and lavender's a gay color, and they're breaking up because she's a queer. Like, I hate that this is what the internet has done to me, that I'm like, oh my God. Like, but also I was like shocked because that wasn't the automatic narrative that I saw. The automatic narrative was, I'm not gonna believe it until Taylor tells me personally.
Yeah. So on the evening of April 8th, 2023, we had an ET exclusive titled Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn Breakup After 6 Years of Dating exclusive. And it says, Taylor and Joe have called it quits. ET has exclusively learned that the Lavender Haze singer and British actor broke up a few weeks ago. ET has also learned that the split was amicable and not dramatic. ET's told that the relationship had just run its course. It's why Alwyn hasn't been spotted at any shows, and Taylor Swift currently starting out on her Eras tour. And the article goes on to say, it wasn't so long ago when Swift and Alwyn were said to have been in a great place in their relationship. A source told ET back in October that they were doing great and their relationship was super strong. And then obviously Sarah just mentioned the song like Lavender Haze. It's been a big topic of discussion, like obviously Taylor Swift's whole love life and relationships, etc. Joe Alwyn has writing credits on some of her recent songs, and Lavender Haze in particular is a song about their relationship. And Taylor shared, like when she was doing promos for this album, she shared an Instagram video talking about Lavender Haze, and she said it's a term that she found while she was watching Mad Men, and it just like to describe that like all-encompassing love, and she thought it was really beautiful. And then she goes on to say, I think a lot of people have had to deal with this now, not just public figures, because we live in an era of social media, and if the world finds out that you're in love with somebody, they're going to weigh in. Like my relationship for 6 years, we've had to dodge weird rumors, tabloid stuff, and we just ignore it. The song is sort of about the act of ignoring that stuff to protect the real stuff. So it's just like, I feel like everyone's very shocked by all of this news, because it's like the Midnight's album obviously came out very recently, the Eras tour just started. I feel like no one saw this coming, and so fans were very shook. And like Sarah just mentioned, a lot of the backlash that we saw was people on TikTok saying, I'm not going to believe it unless it comes straight from Taylor's mouth. And a lot of this has to do with media literacy and Gen Z not believing journalism is real and not believing news sources. And like we've talked extensively about how like a journalism source is different than a Dumas blind item.
Yeah. I mean, like, the thing that is interesting is it's like ET, People, like Rolling Stone, New York Times, like Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, etc. Like, these are publications that like should usually be trusted. Obviously, like there's been, on the political side of things, there's been some questionable shit happening with the New York Times lately, but that's a whole other can of worms. But Entertainment Weekly and even like TMZ, for being a tabloid site, like those sites, like when they have information, the information is usually like trustworthy. Even Page Six, you know? And it made sense seeing some people being like, oh, like I'm not going to believe it until People says something, because People has a history of getting exclusives and having a good relationship with Taylor Swift, and specifically Taylor Swift's publicist, Tree Paine. And I mean, very quickly after ET got their exclusive out, like People also had an exclusive out about the breakup with their own quotes from sources. But like Jenna said, it's like we're living in this world right now where there's, for some reason, like a distrust of the media media, and I don't really understand where that's coming from. I feel like the distrust of the media coming from like more left-leaning people feels a little bit weird, because usually it's like the right-wing people who are trying to spread misinformation on their media.
My opinion is that a lot of this came from the Trump era of his election, and him saying things like, this is fake news, like this is fake news, and like reiterating things like this, and like going on Fox and a lot of these conservative news sites and a lot of the conservative media that like literally was fake news. Obviously there was a lot of issues with like Facebook bots reposting literal fake news, and so I think honestly like a lot of the distrust, it's more so like a distrust in authority and a distrust in the system, honestly was kind of spurred on. This is all just my opinion. Like, I've done no research on this. Spurred on by that side of the world. And then younger people, Gen Z people kind of took that and they're like, yeah, I shouldn't trust authority. Like, yeah, I shouldn't. And not even like I shouldn't trust the news, just a distrust in authority in general. If it's like, look at where we've got so far. Like, look at how the tabloids have historically treated people. Like, why would I trust this? So to me, that's like the mindset of where this is coming in general. But it's like, as Sarah said, publications like ET and TMZ and People have journalistic standards to abide to, and those are also like legal, libel, and slander standards. So like they can't just go publishing anything that Deuxmoi can go publishing without like, that's why a lot of the stuff on Deuxmoi is fake, because the people who report into Deuxmoi, anyone can message them anything. So like the validity of those and the personal motivations behind those is a lot different than what's allowed to be published in like ET or People.
Exactly. And like that's the thing too, is it's like what people seem to not understand is that these sites would completely shut down if all they were doing was spreading misinformation, because these celebrities have so much money, and libel about these celebrities is such an illegal thing to do, and like they could sue these companies for all they're worth, to the point where like if all they were posting was lies, like the sites would cease to exist, and then what would be the point anymore? You know, like there would be no point. And on top of that, the thing that I just find really interesting is that there's so many people on TikTok and on social media who are weirdly so much more willing to believe blind items than they are willing to believe anonymous sources to these trusted publications who like thoroughly vet these sources. And it's frustrating to watch, because obviously sometimes like we've made jokes in the past like, oh, it's an anonymous source, like what does that mean? But it's never that serious. Like when it comes to these publications, like most of the time an anonymous source is literally like somebody who works directly with that artist, speaking for that artist, but like doesn't want to put their name on it. But in instances like when there was like that Don't Worry Darling drama, and like so many people from the crew came forward and like made that statement, and then like one anonymous source was like, well, actually it's like sometimes people are just in it for the drama. But when it's like an exclusive item, like they're not posting an exclusive item based off of like somebody who's just in it for the drama. But it was just like so funny to me, like funny but also disheartening, seeing so many people on TikTok being like, but this blind item said that they're married. And it's like, okay, but somebody exclusively told ET and People that the relationship is over.
Yeah, I think that's like a very good point made. And we also found like a Substack newsletter from Kate Lindsay, who's also like a journalist and like has been in entertainment news in the past. And she was essentially talking about the same thing and how there's this distrust in like journalism news. And she said like her personal experience as like being in direct contact with Taylor Swift's public. She gives like a few instances of like how good Taylor Swift's publicist is. And she made this point that I thought was very interesting. She said, this news would not be news without the knowledge and indeed blessing of a woman that powerful and competent. Or sorry, a source close to the pair that powerful and competent. So essentially saying what Sarah just said of it's like, this news would not be news if Tree and like the whole team did not approve it, essentially, because it would be taken down so quickly. And so in addition to like the ET exclusive, People did come out with their own story 2 days later on April 10th, and theirs was quite insightful because theirs was inside Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn's differences that led to their breakup. Again, this was an exclusive for People, and they said a source close to the couple tells People that the split was largely caused by differences in their personalities. Quote, they've had rough patches before and always worked things out, so friends thought they would take some time apart, but eventually eventually come back together, noting that ultimately they weren't the right fit for one another. And the source goes on to say that they had plenty in common and fell in love in a safe bubble while Taylor was retreating from the world during the Reputation era. And then the pandemic hit and they were locked down together and able to continue to grow their relationship in this insulated way. But he didn't really know her yet outside of the bubble. And then the source goes on to say that Joe has struggled with Taylor's level of fame and attention from the public. The differences in their personalities have also become harder to ignore after years, and they've grown apart. And that Taylor didn't see them working out in the long run, but this split happened recently. It was not dramatic. They just add that they were friendly and they have nothing bad to say about each other. They've just grown apart, and Taylor's very focused on her career at this point. So like all in all, this was like a lot of information for like a source, which like definitely means that I feel like this source was probably even approved by Tree to talk to people, but just like didn't want to be named. Like what if it was like Tree herself? But like
I mean, the buzz is that usually when people has a source for Taylor Swift, that it is in fact actually Tree.
Because this was like so well stated. Like this person had talking points. Like this wasn't like some random just like friend of a friend calling in being like, yeah, I know about their relationship.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it makes sense. And I've been talking to Jenna about this, like, just and discussing the Taylor breakup and also like other friends about it. But like, I mean, if you look at Joe and Taylor's relationship, like they got together during Reputation era of Taylor like disappearing from the world, and she's like was taking a step back from being like a public figure, and then Lover era never really happened because of COVID, so they got to like really get to know each other even more while the world was in lockdown, and Taylor didn't have to be like this A-list celebrity. Or the persona of Taylor Swift. And I mean, like, while Joe Alwyn is an actor, like he's not a Hollywood actor, he's like a British actor, which means that like acting is his career, but he's like not a famous man in the same way that most of Taylor Swift's exes are. And it doesn't really seem like he wants to be more famous than that, which like is fine. Like there's so many people who are like British actors, like they're very successful in England, like people in America know who they are, but like they're not like superstars in the same way. And I feel like it could make sense to it be like 6 years of a relationship, being convinced that your girlfriend is like, yeah, I still want to make music, but like for us, for like nothing serious. Like I don't want to be a superstar anymore. I want to like be with you in England in this quaint little life that we've created. And then her going on like this world eras tour for like months on end. Like I could see that causing a lot of turmoil just based off of what I know about small town British men.
I mean, also, I think in general, it's like being in a relationship with somebody inside of a bubble, which is kind of what they said in this article. Like being in a relationship with somebody in a bubble is entirely different than being in a relationship like with other factors of the world happening around you. Like I feel like for anyone on any level, despite the fact that she's literally one of the most famous pop stars ever, like going away on holiday with your lover for like a month on a beach in like Portugal is entirely different than like having jobs and like having to interface with people and having like career commitments and stuff. So I mean, it makes sense. I think all around everyone's just really shocked, but I also think that this People exclusive is the closest that we're gonna get to like any answers. I don't think Taylor's really gonna do any interviews about it anytime soon, especially because she's on her tour right now.
Yeah, and I feel like Taylor has like historically over the past like few relationships just like barely even acknowledged her relationships. Yeah. So like it's not really gonna be
I don't think she's gonna give us anything extra.
Yeah, definitely not. And like it's not our business. Like just because she's a famous woman and a public figure doesn't mean that like we deserve to know her personal private life and like what's going on there. And I just think it's so unhinged for people to be like, no, it's not that serious, like they're gonna figure it out, like I'm not gonna believe it till they say something. And I just think that like if anything it might be like at some point glossed over in an interview, or like if Joe Alwyn is doing anything, like he might say something tiny. But I also think that Taylor Swift would have his head if he like shared any private information. Like Joe Alwyn would never be seen again. My thing is, and like Jenna said when we first started talking about this, is like the media literacy of it all and the critical thinking skills that people seem to be lacking when it comes to this.
I also think there's a degree of choosing to be lacking in media literacy skills of like, I don't want, like the denial of I don't want them to be broken up, therefore I'm not going to believe this because it doesn't fit my narrative.
Yeah. And like from what I've seen, it's like a lot of younger fans who are being like delusional about this being not real, which like doesn't make it okay, but like makes a little bit more sense. But it is just frustrating when it definitely is people choosing to just be like, well, it's easier to just be like, well, it's an anonymous source, like I don't want to believe it, so I'm not going to. But when media literacy is like as bad as it has been, and so many people are just like refusing to like read anything besides like the headline and maybe the first paragraph of articles about so many things, that like when it comes to stuff like this, people being like, I'm not going to believe it unless this person tells me personally, it just feels like we're heading in a direction of we're heading just in like a very not good direction, because like we've said countless times, like when people like start to feel like this is acceptable to do in pop culture, it leaks into like normal culture, and then we get to this point where people are just like, I just don't want to believe this, and then rather than like doing something about things that are bad that are happening, they just ignore it. And like that's the thing that scares me, when like people get used to being like complacent or get used to ignoring facts or ignoring bad things that are happening or whatever, then they'll start doing that in like real things that matter.
Yeah, because as we all know, in America, the conservatives are trying very hard to strip rights from many, many, many people, many groups of people in America. So as we also like to friendly reminder, pop culture and politics are not so far off from each other.
Yeah, so guys, don't let your delusion about Taylor Swift's relationship or sexuality accidentally leak over into how you handle political injustices in the world. So yeah, a lot obviously happened while we were away. I think we will probably just do a cute little trip wrap up thing over on Patreon if you guys want to hear about all the hijinks that we got into while on our globetrotting adventure. And like Jenna said, we have the Louis Tomlinson episode, so if you want to go check that out, you can do that at patreon.com/name3songs. If you have any thoughts and feelings about any of the crazy pop culture stuff that has happened over the past like 3 weeks, or you want to talk more about everybody being a bit delusional about Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn, we would love to chat with y'all. You can find us on social media. We are at Name3Songs on all platforms. Or if you have any personal beef, grievances, or love you'd like to give us one-on-one, I'm at Sarah_Fagan on all platforms, and Jenna is at Jenna_Million. So with all that being said, thanks for joining us on Name 3 Songs. Until next time, never let anyone make you feel bad about your favorite band.
And remember, you're never too cool to listen to Shawn Mendes.
Don't forget to subscribe to be notified when each episode comes out, and leave us a 5-star review. They really help.
If you want to find out more about any of the sources we referenced in this episode, you can visit name3songs.com.